Brilliant. Okay. So, yeah, welcome. So today we're going to find out if Volunteer Impact is the right software for you and your volunteer organisation. So I'm my wingman today, my wingwoman is Debbie Azuskin from North London Hospice. She'll share her journey on, what made her choose the right solution in Better Impact and her journey and tips on using the software. But just to begin, I'm Daniel Green. I'm the software sales advisor for Better Impact. We support small to enterprise-sized organisations across Europe, Africa, that are exploring our software solutions. I was born and raised in Essex, UK. Some of you can probably guess that already from my accent. But spent most of my career in sales, helping people achieve their goals. And on a personal note, being a busy dad, raising my 11-year-old son, Luke. Some of my interests, a bit of an 80s geek, love everything 80s, but I do balance that out with my love of sport. And in particular, my favourite football team, Arsenal, at the moment, which I'm proud to say are top of the league. Over to you, Debbie.
Hello. I started my working life in social work. I was always working in health and social care, so always in an environment with lots of volunteers. Moved into working in a training capacity for a national charity, and that was around the time that we started to develop national occupational standards for managers of volunteers. So I feel as though I've seen volunteer management itself grow, develop and change over the years, which is really exciting. I moved into hospice almost by accident, and I love it. I came to North London Hospice 10 years ago, and at the time I was still very actively involved and was chair, in fact, of AVM, which is kind of, I thought we were all hospices here, we're not, which is a national organisation that aims to be the voice and support of volunteer managers in any sector across the UK. You'll hear more from me later.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for that, Debbie. So just some takeaways from today's webinar that we'll be coming across. Common problems facing volunteer service teams. We'll cover a quick programme assessment combined of 3 questions, which you'll all be able to type your answers in. We'll find out why the right software tools matter. As Debbie mentioned, we'll share her journey and tips to successfully finding a software solution that fits your needs. We'll conduct a high-level overview of volunteer impact a bit later on. And to finish up, we'll have a few resources and a link to obtain your PDU certificate for attending today, so stick around. PDU, if you're not too sure what that is, that's a professional development unit, sometimes referred to as a CEC, a continued education credit. Some attendees may have credentials whereby the regulatory body requires they earn PDUs. So, yep, stick around, guys, and I'll share that link a bit later on with you. So, some of the common problems faced by many volunteer organisations. As we can see here, we have some listed. It could be something like too much data entry, using disconnected tools to do your job. Maybe there's not enough time to lead and engage with your volunteers. Or maybe finding an affordable tools leadership will approve that. Or maybe it's insufficient security of your confidential volunteer data. And just to point out as well that Volunteer Impact is a top-rated solution that many organisations utilise to overcome these challenges. So next slide, we're going to just go over some questions. Everyone all join in. If you wouldn't mind just popping in your answers in the chat, that would be great. So question 1, which problem resonated with you the most from the last slide? Was it number 1, too much data entry? Number 2, using too many disconnected tools to do your job? Number 3, not enough time to lead and engage with your volunteers? Number 4, affordable tools leadership will approve? Or maybe it's number 5, insufficient security of your confidential volunteer data. And again, we'll just give about 30 seconds, 60 seconds just to go over and see everyone's answers. Let's have a look. A nice mixture there. Number 1 seems to be in the forefront there. Yeah, too much data entry. That could be, I'm guessing many of you may be using Excel spreadsheets or some other sorts of spreadsheets where, yep, it could be too much data entry. And number 2 as well, using too many disconnected tools to do your job. Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Over to question 2. So how are you managing your volunteers currently? Is it number 1, spreadsheets? Is it number 2, a volunteer management software already? Or is it number 3, something else? And if it is number 3, be great to see, put in what you're using, or even number 2 as well. Again, number 1, spreadsheets. It's funny to think that of all the software solutions out there, most commonly everyone is still using spreadsheets. Hopefully for some of you that may change. Thanks everyone. So question 3. In your opinion, what's most at risk if a change doesn't occur sooner rather than later? And again, pop your questions your answers into the chat box. Is it number 1, volunteer turnover disengagement? Number 2, staff turnover disengagement? Number 3, wasted money? Number 4, damage to your org's or program reputation? Or is it number 5, something else? One and 4, yep. So this will be leading away. We've got some more coming in. 1, 3, and 4. Thanks, Natalie. I think number 1 seems to be the winner there. Volunteer turnover and disengagement. So next couple of slides, we're just going to go over some interesting stats. So it's interesting to know that more than half of all employees are unhappy at work because of the software tools they're using. Have you ever become dissatisfied at work due to missing or mismatched software? Well, 51.95% say yes, it is. Just to let you know, these stats do come from the G2 2019 State of Software Happiness Report as well. So it really does matter that being provided the right tools to perform your job plays into the level of job satisfaction. Where the right tools are not in place, our level of efficiency and effectiveness decreases. So this is quite interesting as well. I was quite surprised with. About 1 in every 8 employees has actually quit their job because of mismatched software. So the fact that this is a cited reason for people leaving a job speaks just to how important it is to outfit employees with the right tools for the job. So let's get you and your team working with the tools that make you feel less frustrated and rather more empowered and productive as well. So we want to get you feeling less of this and a little bit more of this woman here laughing and all happy. And now I will hand it back over to Debbie, and she'll share her experience and her journey with selecting a volunteer software solution and her journey using volunteer impact as well. Back to you, Debbie.
Thanks, Daniel. I will give you a nod when I want the slides to move. I've been a volunteer impact customer since November 2015, but I knew the system before that because I had attended conferences and met Tony, and I was impressed with it. And what really impressed me about it was that it was very much a system where people using it were contributing to the growth of it and the development of it. So it really was ground sourced? I don't know if that's the right word. I don't speak tech, but it feels like the right word.
Sounds like the right word.
Sounds like the right word. I came to North London Hospice in 2013. I was on a 2014. I was on a very short-term contract. And one of the things I wanted to do before I left, and yes, I am still there, so the contract was extended. But one of the things I wanted to do was put in place a proper system. We had a bespoke system before that was really a spreadsheet that we could use to keep people's contact details, to record whether or not they'd had a DBS check, but we couldn't scan anything and add it. So it was just a tick box, yes or no, and what their role was. And we could use it for rostering, but it was really convoluted. You couldn't get an overall picture of what was happening. You could just see that this particular volunteer was rostered on to this particular shift. So I didn't think that was fit for purpose, and I wanted a proper system. And I turned immediately to Better Impact. And then I thought, hang on a minute, I'm not sure that would make a really strong case to our board. So I looked at other systems as well so that I could build a case for choosing Better Impact. And the big challenges I faced in-house was cost, which felt a little strange to me because it's not as expensive a system as so many others, and data protection. And I'm sure that Daniel can answer this question way better than I can, that there was something about the storage being in the cloud and what country the cloud was registered in, that our information governance lead wasn't entirely comfortable with, and we had to go through quite a bit of a process until he was reassured.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on what Debbie mentioned, yes, you know, that the data is all hosted in Canada. That's where our headquarters is based. And Tony, as you know, Debbie, CEO, is based in Canada. But it's all EU, UK regulated as well. We've got plenty of documents. Our our privacy officer, our tech team have drawn up loads of documents that it's what we call our technology and privacy brief document, which details everything just to make all your IT colleagues, team, just that little bit more reassuring that it's fine, even though it's hosted there. And I'll be happy to share that afterwards if everyone wants that document as well. So Debbie, back to you.
So we finally got Better Impact with the volunteer module. We moved on to getting client impact as well for one of the services that we have in the hospice. I'm more than happy for anyone to give me a call so I can talk to you about that, but I believe that's not what we're talking about today.
No, just basically we're just concentrating on volunteer impact.
So the key pain points are not that relevant. I think that if I had my time again, I remember making the order for Better Impact, and at that time Rob Jackson was working with Better Impact, and I rang and I said, I'm going to need 3 days training. And he laughed at me. And I said, come on, Rob, you know me well. I'm not that technical. I'm not going to pick this up that quickly. And I would say that within 4 hours I had it. And that means it's not that difficult a system to use. If I had my time again, remember when I ordered Better Impact, I thought I was about to leave the organisation. I would have had an organisational wide working group who would have helped us to build the system and then all be trained on it together and then implement it together across the organisation. That's my key piece of advice. Don't do this on your own. In terms of what I've gained from it, I had a meeting this morning with a new colleague actually, and we were talking about the importance of monitoring activity. How is he going to plan next year if he doesn't know what's been going on this year with the volunteers in his service? Who's doing what? How many people are there? It helps us to assess whether or not we've got the right number of volunteers in each part of the organisation. It helps us to ascertain if we've got the right skills mix in each part of the organisation. And all of that saves, I've got to put my glasses back on to read this pie chart, but that gives an illustration of how much time it can save in terms of planning in future. We can send out emails to all volunteers. We can send out emails to a selection of volunteers. There is a module that we're not using where we could, instead of sending emails, you can send text messages to all or some of your volunteers. You can create little groups, so you can send a message to all your Tuesday people, for example.
And just to touch base, this what you see on your screen now is the hours per week Debbie put in before using Better Impact as well. And we'll just see some other kind of stats and what she saved now she's implemented and using volunteer impact as well.
Well, it's going to change even more in the next few months because we're putting a lot of our online training is going into Better Impact. So instead of us having to email things to people, as you know, Better Impact has a volunteer facing side as well. Volunteers can log into their own account and undertake their own training. All we need to do is send them a reminder as and when. So it's a system that can save you a lot of time in little admin bits, and that gives you time to manage your quality relationships with the volunteers with whom you work.
Absolutely.
That's what we found.
Yeah, no, that's great. And yeah, if you just want to share your software journey as well, Debbie, you know.
I did, and I'm happy to share this, although with a caveat that it was done in 2015. I did a little analysis of all the other software systems that were available to us at the time and what their benefits were, together with their costs. And that you're welcome to see it, but it is now very outdated. My top thing is that we can ring fence access. We collect demographic data about all of our volunteers and no one can see it other than me and my colleague, because of the way that you can kind of handle who sees what. I love that it's got the feature where you can measure impact. So when a volunteer logs in to upload their hours, they get a little message, and you can do mini surveys in real time and find out from volunteers how they feel about things. I love the fact that we can create committees and select who we're sending messages to. I don't want to send all of our shop volunteers, for example, an email. I may only want to send the email or message to Wednesday people, and it gives that kind of flexibility, which I really like.
Brilliant, thanks, Debbie.
I am always available for questions. So Daniel's going to share my email address later if anyone wants to get in touch or come and see how we use it, or do that on Teams. If you can't,
you know, feel free to, if you want to, Debbie, feel free to pop your email in the chat box if anyone wants to share.
So my email is going to be in the chat. As my name suggests, I'm based in North London and happy for anyone to come in or to do this on Teams.
Brilliant. Thanks, Debbie. And as you can see here, this is just some of the results now compiled from Debbie, what it's like before Better Impact and after Better Impact. So we've got satisfaction with efficiency and effectiveness. And that's great to see that, you know, after using Better Impact definitely outweighs the before. And this last one here, we've just done like a results calculator of hours saved, value of time, and return of investment. So Debbie, after she filled in this report for us, which is great, hours saved, which I think's a great kind of stat there, 1,068 hours, which actually equates to 44.5 days. So that's how much time she saved, which is brilliant. But thanks for that, Debbie. I'm now going to change over to screens, and what we'll cover now is just a quick overview of the software. Can everyone see my screen okay with the demo page? Excellent. Okay, guys. So when you log into your account, some of you may be trialing the software already. Some of you may have watched the video, so some of you may be familiar with this already. What you'll see now on your screen is the dashboard. So when you log in, this is what you're presented with. And what we're going to cover today, like I said, it's just a high overview of the software. We're going to cover some of the basic overview key features and these main icons at the top here. So here we are on the dashboard, and what you can see here in this status update box is some circles with numbers in. So these represent your volunteers in all the different 5 statuses along their journey with you in your program. So it's great to know that within the software you can onboard, recruit volunteers. You'll be able to create application forms for this. This will be branded by your organization as well. And then when you finished and completed these application forms, you just generate a link for this and you can embed this into your website. And that's where you're going to drive for recruitment. Now, when you have volunteers that are applying and they're starting to fill out your application form, but not yet finished, they're going to land in the applicant status circle here. It could be that they're going to finish it later on, but it's good to know that these applicants, volunteers, they're going to automatically land in your account. Now, if you have, you set some permissions as a custom field, qualifications, general interests, these are the sources that are added to the application forms. And you can set permissions on them, such as read write, with approval, without approval, private, or read only. So the in-process status just basically means they're applicants that have completed your application form, yet you as an administrator are just waiting to approve or reject a custom field or a qualification. If some of you are not too sure what custom fields are yet, I like to call them your data collecting questions. So a custom field, for example, could be something like a reference, emergency contact information, what languages can you speak, what t-shirt size are you, whatever it is, you customize the questions. You can manipulate these custom fields to be answers in the formats of long text, short text boxes, number fields, date fields, check boxes, drop-down menus, and also a file upload as well. So if you're looking to receive a CV, for example, from an applicant, choosing a file upload, you'll just give them the option to download that file. And as I mentioned, if they are waiting to be approved, they will be sitting here in process until they've been moved over to accepted. The next, or the fourth status along, is inactive. So these are all volunteers that are just taking a long break from volunteering. This could be medical leave, maternity leave, but at some point will be returning back to your program. And lastly, we have archived. As you can see there, it gives you some typical reasons of why the volunteer may be archived. Could be they didn't start, they were rejected, dismissed, moved on, resigned, whatever the case may be. The system will also flag up on volunteers' birthdays and anniversaries, and it would also flag up under here some custom field approvals. So if you are waiting to approve maybe a reference or any sort of other custom field, it will flag up here for you to approve or reject. And the same with qualifications. It's good to know as well, you can add expiry dates to qualifications. So things like DBS background checks, you can add expiry dates, and this is all logged on the volunteer's profile. And if that qualification is due to expire soon, it will again flag up on your dashboard. So that would just prompt you as an administrator just to reach out to that particular volunteer if they haven't done so already, just to get them to renew that qualifications, and they might not be eligible now moving forward for the role they're contributing towards. We've got up here as well pin searches. Now I'll cover this briefly when we go over the search and the communication icons as well. But I'm going to start off with the configuration icon here, the cogwheel at the top. Once you click on any of these icons, they all bring up all subcategories down here on the left-hand side. So this, you're probably going to use this quite often when you're new to the software. You're building up all the data. This is where you're going to start from mainly. So things like branding, for example. Like I say, you can brand things like the application forms, a public page, the My Impact page, which is the volunteer portal. This will all be branded by your organisation. You just add your banner here. This is our demo one. And this is what the volunteers will see from their perspective. Now you've got here profile customization. So this is where you can build and add your custom fields. Here's some we've made up here. This is based upon a museum, this demo account. You can also put the custom fields into headers and categories. So for example, you could have a category about you, and then you just add these custom fields. How did you first hear about us, resume, which you see there, the type of answers. We've got a file upload. Some of them have short text, drop-down menus, date fields. What languages can you speak? We've just combined that into checkboxes. Group information, references, emergency contact information, and so on. And here as well, qualifications. These are the ones we made up, but by all means, put your own qualifications in. You can give them ranked or exact matches. You can set the permissions, just like, as I mentioned, with the custom fields and the expiry dates. If ever you make any mistakes along the way, whether it's a custom field, a qualification, a feedback field, you can always hover over these grey boxes to the left-hand side to edit it, or just delete it and start again if you want to. Badges. It's a really cool feature within the software. So a lot of you may want to reward your volunteers with recognition of maybe qualifications, lifetime hours, volunteer anniversaries. You can do so with badges. Here's some we've made up. So for example, we've got a driving license one. So everyone that's passed their license, it could be good in a delivery driving activity. CPR first aid. Now we have got templates you can use as well, but by all means you can upload your own visuals on this as well. This is committees, what Debbie mentioned back in one of the key features for her. So think of committees as like a WhatsApp group for your volunteers, but on email. So this is the only part of the software where your volunteers will be able to engage with each other. Obviously, with their consent, you just add them to the groups and then they can email each other. Now we've got the recruitment section here. You'll be able to create general interests, which are more like want ads, you know, what kind of fields are the volunteers interested in? Is it gardening? Is it administration? Is it events? And you'll be able to add this to your application form as well. And then obviously, when you have created, whether it's a public page, application forms, you just click on the links to a website, generate it from here, and then you can embed that into your website. Here as well, manage activities. This is where you create your activities. Just like the custom fields, you will be able to put them into categories. So we've got like a category, for example, administration, and then we've got the activities, newsletter editor, office assistant. You can schedule them, unschedule them, give them recurring time patterns with shifts. You can manipulate who sees these activities as well. Is it going to be public, where you can make it viewable on your public page? Will it be to volunteers who are only qualified for that particular activity, as you can add qualifications to these opportunities and activities? Or is it just going to be for people that are signed up or on the backup list? Feedback fields as well. So it's good to know that within the My Impact page, which is the volunteer login portal, volunteers will be able to go on there. They'll sign themselves up for any shifts, activities. They'll be able to log their hours. And if you do need to gain some feedback from that, create a feedback field that's applicable to the activity. And then that will give the opportunity for the volunteer to relay their feedback as well. E-learning modules, that's a great resource as well. So it's good to know you will be able to create online learning content for your volunteers to take from their My Impact page. This could be things like CPR, training, hand hygiene, whatever it could be. You make these up. You can apply images, GIFs, videos, which are backed up by Vimeo and YouTube on these as well. And you literally just set a little quiz, a test. You can set the passing score to whatever you want it to be, and then your volunteers will be able to take that from their volunteer portal. And going back up to the top here, click on people. This is a great area for when you want to add volunteers or even administrators, or if you want to do a search as well, you can do that from this icon. So let's say, let's click on search here, just give you an example. Let's say we want to reach or just see a list of everyone that has a particular qualification. So if we select, and here you could select which status is. I'm just going to choose accepted. If you just want to see a list of all your volunteers that are accepted, you could just press search and bring them up. But what we're going to be doing is adding a search criteria. So click on the add search criteria in the bottom left. You'll be presented with this drop-down menu, and you can see all the different segments you can search for. But I'm looking for qualifications. So let's click on here. And these will be your qualifications that will come up. Let's say a background check is equal to, let's say, passed. You can add the expiry dates if need be. Let's ignore that. Add and go. And there we go. 45 people were found in the system with a background check that's passed. Now I'm going to move over quickly to the communication icon next. It's a similar page to the people search. Click on here. So it's great to know that there's three main methods of communication within the software. That's email, texting, and you could do a mail out. You could do this in mass. You could do this in filtered groups or just to individuals as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you a quick example of sending an email to a particular group. So again, on the left-hand side here, let's select send email. There we go. That we're back up on that filtering page. Again, I'm just going to select accepted. And then if you want to do an email in mass, again, just press the search. It'll bring up all the accepted volunteers. But let's do a search criteria. I want to reach out to all volunteers that give their hours at weekends only, let's say. So again, we'll have this drop-down menu, and let's select general availability. What I need to do is select Saturday and Sunday, add and go. And there we go, 24 people were found. Now, if you know, for example, Carly Watson doesn't need to be included in this email, you can just uncheck her if you want to as well. And then all you need to do, put in your body of your email. You can add images, attachments, links. You can even set a first name or last name placeholder as well. So when the recipient receives that email, it would say things like, hi, John, hi, Mary, hi, Daniel. And so it just gives that a bit more of a personal touch. What's really great is that you can use email templates as well. So if you're doing things like monthly newsletters, save it as a template when you first build it up. And it just makes life that little bit easier. So here we go, this one's we've saved. Monthly newsletter. And by all means, you can tweak this if you change it up every month or so. Once you're happy with the email, you can send, and it'll go out to them 24 people. And again, what's really good, same with the people search. If this is a group of people that you generally or frequently communicate with, you can save this search, give it a name, weekends only. If you check that box that says pin search, check that and save. And what you've done is you've created a shortcut for yourself. So back on the home page, just by clicking this little house symbol, always takes you back to the dashboard. And here we go. Here's some of the pin searches, which updates in real time as well. So there we go. I've got weekend availability, qualified for a particular activity, volunteers with driving license. You can have these as text searches, email searches, or just pin searches as well. You can assign volunteers if you go to the scheduling icon at the top here. I'll tell you what we'll go with calendar. It's a bit more easy on the eye. Click on here. And here you'll be able to see all the activities within a month. You can see there's a lot of red and blue. So if you focus on the red, which means that activity is still vacant, none of your volunteers have signed up for that yet. Through to the blue, which means you haven't got to worry about that. The minimum amount of volunteers needed for that activity has been met. So if you want to focus on a particular day, let's say this one, Wednesday the 1st of March, click on the day. And there we go, it brings up all the activities on that day. You can see there's lots of them that need attention. Let's say accommodation room 1, click on that. And then from here, you'll be able to do a filtering process again, just to match which volunteers can be assigned to this, which ones are qualified, whatever you want to filter through, you'll be able to do that. Once you've done that, press search, and it will bring up all the volunteers underneath, and you can assign them. Most likely, you're going to be using the software for the volunteers to sign up themselves on their My Impacts page. However, you may have some volunteers that forget to do this, or some of them may not even use the My Impacts page. It's good to know you can do everything on their behalf just by going to their profile, which I'll show you shortly as well. And then we'll just finish up here on the icons with reports. It's good to know that you can report on pretty much anything and everything, as long as you have that data tracked and recorded. And again, on the left-hand side here, you can pretty much report on anything you wish. Some of them may have charts, bar graphs. So let's just show you an example of hours by volunteer. Click on here, you can report over any date period as well. So we're only in February, so let's do last year. View report. And there we go. You will be able to export these to CSV and Excel as well. So it starts up with the top volunteer of the most hours and entries right down to the least. And then right at the bottom, it gives you total hours, number of volunteers, and average per volunteer. Hours and feedback trend. You'll be able to do these as well. So many, but one I really like and a lot of our members use is the general reports, personal profile raw data. Now, clicking on this, you're just going to be producing your own bespoke reports. So again, back to this filtering page, let's choose everyone accepted. Let's press search. 228 people were found. And then all you need to do is select what you want to report on. Okay, so by default, it always shows first name and last name. You just go along, select what custom fields you want, qualifications, general interests, committees, general availability, hours logged, whatever you got, you'll be able to report on it just by clicking view profiles, and you can also export this as well. I know time's against us, so I'm going to quickly show you what the volunteer profile looks like now. So in the top right here, we'll click on this person icon, and in this search box, this is where you want to find your individual volunteers. So I'm going to use Veronica. She's our demo volunteer. As soon as you start typing in her name, the system starts to match with your typing, so you've got a top full name. Just click on the profile and it takes you to Veronica's page. Loads of tabs here we'll quickly cover as well. On this main page, there we go, you can see a profile picture of Veronica, some quick information relating to contact, history, next shift, and most recent contributions. There's a bar graph showing Veronica's hours contributed each month, along with a pie chart showing exactly where her hours have been contributed towards which activities, and there's her badges. If you want to communicate with Veronica, click on the communications tab. You can send an email, send a text message. You can also send a personal message as well. So if you want to thank Veronica for coming in at last minute to help on an activity, this will be displayed on her My Impacts page, which only Veronica can see. And there's also an email history that will log all the outgoing emails you send to your volunteer as well as a note log. You can make any notes on the volunteer here. Only admins will see this, Veronica won't see this, and it will log the entries underneath as well. As I mentioned, you can assign a volunteer to any of the activities if they're not using My Impacts page at all. You can see Veronica's schedule. You see that in a list format. Scroll down. You'll also be able to see this in a calendar format. If I click View Reports, there we go, which I will be able to export, print off, and send to Veronica. If she wants something tangible by hand just to put on her fridge, I can do so as well. I can see her hours, any committees that she's associated with, and then just on these sub-tabs below, contact information, her custom fields. So these are all her answers. Everything's collated within her profile. Her qualifications. Her general interests. General availability. And you also have this miscellaneous tab. This is a great area if you want to change the status of the volunteer as well. So if Veronica's no longer with us, you can either inactive or archive her as well. Brilliant. We're just going to go back to the slides, guys. So much more features I'd love to show you all, but I know we're up against it. So let me have a look. All right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen again. Okay, I'm back on the results page. So just to let you know why people love Better Impact, it is a top-rated volunteer management software solution. And just to let you know a little bit about the story of Better Impact, which, funny enough, started by fluke, by Tony, our CEO's passion project of building a web-based volunteer management software solution for residential hospice that he founded, then gave birth to the beginnings of a global "we're here to help" company. We're 20 years old. We're a small company, but we do have a global impact. We have offices here in UK, Canada, and Australia. but we do have customers all over the globe. We specialise in volunteer management software, Volunteer Impact, which we've mainly been focusing on today. However, we are also providers of donor, client and member solutions that integrate with Volunteer Impact as well. And lastly, we're here to help company. So as Debbie mentioned earlier on, she's also using Client Impact, which helps, integrate with her Volunteer Impact and to get the best out of the volunteer solutions she's using. So some of you joining today may operate volunteer programs where volunteers work directly with clients, example, Client Impact. If so, always keep an eye out on our website for events and webinars. I will be covering, all steps throughout the year, maybe a volunteer and a Client Impact webinar similar to today as well. So if any of these tick your boxes and something else you'd like to find out more about, just look on the website under the events and webinars. Oh, bear with me, system's on a bit of a go slow. There we go. So just wrapping up, guys, emails coming your way. So I will be, as I mentioned, this is recorded, so I will be sending you the webinar recording. There'll also be a link to watch a comprehensive demo video of Volunteer Impact. And also a link, if you do want to have a one-to-one chat with me, we'll discuss your needs in detail as well. There'll be a link in that. And most importantly, I'm going to share this now, that PDU certificate. If everyone wants to check your inbox, I have just sent that now. Click on that now. I won't be, this is offered to you live in the webinar. I won't be able to send this afterwards. So guys, make sure you use that and fill in for your PDU certificate. I'd love to say a big thanks to Debbie today, sharing her experience, tips, and her journey on finding a great VMS software solution. And lastly, we'll just finish up. We've got about 5 to 7 minutes for any questions, guys. You can all come off mute, or you can raise your hands up in the chat, whatever's best for you if you've got any questions.
Just one, Daniel. Hi, Siobhan here. Just from my side, we spoke briefly on this one before, but just the integration into Salesforce. I did a bit of digging just in terms of the link you sent on, and I still can't really just find a straight answer on that one. And just wondered, did anyone manage to do a successful integration with Salesforce, or know of any organizations that have?
Yeah, as I've mentioned, the only way you'll be able to integrate it with Salesforce is just by building the API from your end. We use a JSON-based API. We can build it at the front. You or your IT team will need to finish off the bridge for the API, but it's only going to be used for transferring, let's say, volunteer contact details over. That's mainly what the API is there for.
Sure.
There'll be things like volunteer details, custom fields, so you'll be able to transfer the two. Yeah.
Okay, so that is possible. That's great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Wow, a lot of silence. This makes my life easier if there's no questions. Brilliant. Okay, guys. If there's no other questions, then we'll finish up today. So thanks again, everyone, for attending. Hopefully you managed to fill in the PDUs. Again, we'll send this link over to you. So if anyone's, we will share it with your colleagues, feel free to do so. I know some of you on here may be already trialing the software or already had a one-to-one with me. Feel free to email me any questions you may have. Some of you that are new, again, use that link that will be sent afterwards if you do want a one-to-one with me. But if that's it, guys, again, thanks so much, Debbie, for sharing your journey with us today and everyone in attending. and I wish you all a pleasant day.